Do you have a question? Oh, you have. Okay. So what do you get? We say shalom and not goodbye, for shalom is goodbye and hello and wholeness and peace, threaded together in one breath. And in one breath we say goodbye to a hand to hold, a kiss and a tight embrace. And in the same breath of shalom, hello to an ocean of memories, rush of emotion, gratitude and sorrow, tears and laughter and trembling and fatigue, all in one breath, shalom. In the words of Ecclesiastes, a season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for dancing and a time for waiting, a time for birthing and a time for dying, a time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking, a time for losing. The time for mourning is a complicated time filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We begin our service with the 120th Psalm, a psalm that bids us look up to the mountains. Nancy was a source of uplift to her family and her friends, and goodness will be a permanent marker in your lives, not unlike the lofty peaks of the mountains. Esa einai harim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri, Ezri, me'im Adonai, o samayim va'aretz. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help will come from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. The guardian will not slumber. Behold, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Eternal is your keeper. Adonai is your shade at your right hand. The sun shall not harm you by day, nor the moon at night. God will guard all harm. God will protect your soul. Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts of spirit Nancy gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that Nancy's light and her warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort, courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity and youth to old age. From innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, from grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage to life everlasting.
And that is the profound faith that we affirm and the reason why we're here today. We're going to continue with the cherished words of the 23rd Psalm. Nancy so loved the music of the synagogue, and so we'll begin with the chanting of the 23rd Psalm. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, Bineot deshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenaleni. Nafshi eshovev, nafshi eshovev, yancheni b'maglei tzedek, leman shemo. Gam ki elech begeit salmavet, lo irara ki ata imadi, shivtecha umishantecha, shivtecha umishantecha. Hema yenachamuni, taroch lefanai shulchan, taroch lefanai shulchan, taroch lefanai shulchan, neged tzorerai, dishanta vashemen roshi, Dishanta vashemen roshi, Dishanta vashemen roshi, kosi revaya. Ach tov achesed, yirdefuni, kol yemei chayai, Veshavti beveit Adonai, Veshavti beveit Adonai, leorech yamim. We join together in the reading of the 23rd Psalm, which you'll find in the pamphlet you received upon entering. We join together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We spend a moment now in silent prayer, the personal reflection and meditation of our own hearts. lefanecha, Adonai tzuri v'goali. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. How fitting that we gather in our beautiful Temple Emanu-El sanctuary to offer thanks for the blessings of Nancy's life and to mourn her passing together here. For this was truly her spiritual home, which she and Jerry of blessed memory helped to build and sustain over some 55 years. There's a fascinating text from the Talmud that instructs us on a variety of requirements for a synagogue. And at one point, the rabbis explained that a synagogue may not be used as a kapandaria, meaning a shortcut. In other words, you can't enter the temple building simply to pass through on the way to somewhere else. And so it's been for Nancy, who never took this place as a spiritual shortcut, being content to pay her dues, drop off their kids, show up only on the rare occasion. No, she didn't just pass through. She devoted her energy and talents, dedication, and love with Jerry to building our temple in diverse areas: education, spiritual growth, financial security, and the bonding of a community. To say she was a devoted wife to Jerry would be a shameful understatement. Peanut butter and jelly, Brady and Belichick. It was always Nancy and Jerry. A team, a couple, truly loving partners who spent some 67 years together in marriage until his passing in 2021. In times of health, in times of illness, Nancy was by his side. So let us experience a measure of comfort, knowing that today, after these difficult years, they will once again rest side by side, and now for eternity. Nancy was equally devoted as a loving mother to Vicky and then Mark, to Howie, Dana. She adored and was likewise adored by her grandchildren, Robert and Michael, Samantha, Harrison, Charlie. With deep affection welcomed Ivan and Hannah. And we also recall her broken heart at the passing of her cherished grandson, Stephen. And then she would know a special blessing of a great-granddaughter, Frida. Nancy's family circle extended so widely, included nieces and nephews and cousins and longtime and loving friends who became like family to her. Her home was open and so often filled with joyful gatherings, dinners that didn't have to be fancy to be wonderful. And Marla and I were blessed to share so many happy times together in their home, here at the temple, in their winter home in Florida. It's hard to imagine this temple without Nancy's joyful and welcoming presence. I mean, she's been part of this congregation for most of the temple's existence. I remember during the High Holy Days in 2019, the first services held in our renovated sanctuary, that they were called to the Torah in celebration of their 50th year of temple membership. Nancy served on our board of trustees, remained active in our sisterhood auxiliary, including serving as its president. If you look back at photographs held in our congregation's archives, we see them celebrating key events and special anniversaries and assorted celebrations over the years. And to note just a few other memories that many here might not know. At the outbreak of the Yom Kippur War, Nancy and Jerry raised funds for the congregation to purchase an Israel bond as an expression of hope and support. In a different vein, when I was running the Boston Marathon in support of Children's Hospital, Nancy and Jerry were always, for all 10 years, among my most dedicated supporters. And I would also mention that in celebration of one of their milestone wedding anniversaries, Nancy and I selected a magnificent Havdalah set as a donation to the temple, which is still used here on this bima and on so many special Holy Day observances. We also have pictures from numerous luncheons in Florida, where I would travel in the winter months to reconnect with our snowbirds. And Nancy organized those gatherings for many years. The Boca Point Country Club became an annual destination. Nancy handled everything, from reservations to the menu, to phone calls to her friends, encouraging our folks to reconnect. I would offer some thoughts, or a teaching, or an update on temple news from here in Marblehead. And those reunions helped keep our members connected to the temple and to me and to one another when they might easily have simply vanished from the community. The memories are numerous and really endless. But now I want to invite precious family members to share their own words of affection and memory, beginning with Nancy's grandson, Harrison.
Nanny cherished family above all else. One thing that always stood out to me about Nanny and Papa was the way that they built their family, not just blood, but through deep, lifelong friendships. While for a lot of us, we can lose touch with people over the years, that was not the case for Nanny and Papa. As I look around the room and see everyone here, it truly shows how much Nanny and Papa valued both their friends and family. That's why I was so lucky growing up with so many people in my life that I call aunt and uncle. Auntie Gloria, Uncle Sid, Auntie Edie, to name a few. To Nanny and Papa, friends weren't just friends, they were family. And as a kid, I thought that was just how things were for everyone, that it's typical to refer to your grandmother's best friend as auntie, but it wasn't until I got older that I realized how rare and special that is. And I think that speaks to the amazing person that Nanny was. They both welcomed people into their lives and treated you as family. It was impossible not to be impacted by their presence. Not only did they teach me the value of lifelong friendships, but their marriage was a great example to look up to, as they always showed unconditional love, laughter, and happiness with each other. I'm so lucky to have had such amazing grandparents who were so involved in my life, especially growing up. Whether it was sporting events, holidays, trips to Florida, or the Nanny and Papa bar mitzvah trip tradition. At the time, I didn't realize it, but living so close to my grandparents is something that I'll forever be grateful for. Being just one town over came with a lot of advantages for me. Sunday breakfast at Maria's with Nanny and Papa are memories I'll cherish forever. And of course, no one could make a shepherd's pie like she could, and she was always willing to cook it for me at a moment's notice. It's hard to put into words just how amazing Nanny was. The life that she and Papa built together, and for all of us, is something I'm so thankful for. I'll cherish both the memories and the traditions we built, and I will continue to celebrate and remember the most amazing Nanny.
Nancy's children are going to each share some thoughts with us. And Howard, if you come forward at this
time. I think everyone who comes up, you're going to hear pretty much the same thing from all of us. But I want to at least honor my mother. People have called me over the last few days and said how sorry they were for my tragedy, and it brought up so many mixed feelings. It's obviously a great loss anytime you lose a parent, and we all feel it. But my mother lived a great life. She had a wonderful 67-year marriage to my father. A great loving family. Wonderful loving parents and a loving and close sister. 3 children who she loved with all her heart and who loved her right back. Six grandchildren and 1 great-granddaughter that she got to enjoy and spend lots of time with and develop close relationships with. So many great friends that if I started listing them all, I'd still leave someone important out. A special and lifelong friendship. With Auntie Gloria, as long as her marriage. And so how can I feel sad for her? My mother lived a long and productive life. The great thing about that is she got to experience so many things she wanted to. The only sad thing for me is that with a long life comes the inevitable deterioration of the person during their final years. And anyone who's known Nancy for a long time knows how truly awesome she was. My memories of my mother, of her great smile, her laughing face, her clearing the dance floor and doing the Charleston at our family parties like John Travolta and Saturday Night Fever, her winning personality and great sense of humor, her loving heart and nature, and of what an amazing mother she was to me and my sisters. So I stand here today truly grateful to God for the wonderful life He blessed my mother with. How I think she experienced almost everything she ever wanted to in her life, and how she was surrounded by love and joy from her friends and loving family. And I'm so happy to think she's now back reunited with Jerry, Harry, Tilly, Pat, and my precious son, Stephen. And I know that must be a wonderful and amazing reunion for her right now. And we should all feel comforted that she's now truly happier than she's been in a long time.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here to honor and celebrate my mother. My mom, Nancy, Nanny, Nuzzy, Nanny Poo. She was one of a kind. A force of positivity, full of life, always a smile on her face. It's as if Frank Sinatra sang the song Nancy with the laughing face just for her. She was caring, loving, and the most wonderful mommy anyone could ask for. Daughter to Harry and Tilly, and sister to Pat. I'm sure Tilly and Pat are ready to do the Charleston with you once again, and Harry is ready for that long-awaited hug. She married my dad at just 18 years old, a baby herself at the time, and somehow she figured it all out, not only how to take care of him, which, let's be honest, wasn't always easy, but also how to be there for us, always. They were married for an incredible 67 years, a true partnership filled with love, laughter, and I'm sure a whole lot of patience. People have told me my whole life that I look like her, and that is something I'll always cherish. But beyond just looking like her, I hope I carry with me some of the qualities that made her so sweet and special. Temple Emanu-El was such an important part of my mother's life. For over 50 years, it was where she found friendship, purpose, and community. She was president of Sisterhood, spent most Friday nights here, adored our new Rabbi Mangold, just last Friday, she was so excited to hear Rabbi Meyer, who will always hold a special place in her heart, speak about his recent trip to Israel. Her love for this synagogue is something she passed on to me. I spent 8 years on the board, and all 3 of my kids celebrated their bar and bat mitzvahs here. Her legacy of faith, tradition, and connection will continue to live on through all of us. Let's just say in a family full of type A personalities, my mom was our B. She was the calm in the storm, the steady hand that reminded us to slow down and appreciate the moment. She showed us the power of patience, always listening with an open heart and offering reassurance when we needed it most. Her kindness and love knew no bounds. She made everyone feel special, important, and cared for. She was flexible in the best way, always adapting to whatever life threw her way with grace and understanding. And above all, she had an endless supply of sympathy and compassion, always putting others before herself and making sure everyone felt supported and loved. Exercise was another huge part of her life. She was one of the early Jackie Sorensen aerobic queens, a runner alongside my Auntie Gloria, and a rock star at the JCC until the very end. While most moms spent Mother's Day being pampered with breakfast in bed, we could never pull that off because she was already out jogging along Swampscott Beach or through Phillips Park. Even recently, she was more frustrated by an injured elbow, keeping her from doing her planks than anything else. She passed down that love of fitness to all 3 of her kids. She was the best mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, auntie, cousin, and friend. Her love for all of us showed no bounds. She adored her grandchildren, Robert, Michael, Stephen, her sweet potatoes, Samantha, Harrison, and Charlie. If anyone has run into her in the last 20 months, I can only imagine how excited she was to show you pictures of her precious great-granddaughter, Frida. I will miss our girls' trips, you, Vicky, me, and Samantha, but we'll cherish the wonderful times with just the 4 of us over the years. Our last get-together in November in California that included Frida was just so special, and thrilled we will always have that time. A lot of you probably knew my mom as the one who always showed up with the best kugel. Whether it was for brunch or to comfort a family during loss, she always brought it with love. It was a recipe passed down from my Nana, and it will definitely stay in our family forever. Nanny's kugel. Over the last few days, so many people have reached out, and the words they've shared have only confirmed what we already knew about my mom. Here's just a handful of so many I received. We all loved your mom. She will be missed by so many. Your mom was the best. Amazing, wonderful and warm, beautiful inside and out, loved to the moon and back. Her smile lit up a room. The best and most beautiful soul. Absolutely adored your mom. Truly one of a kind. A real example of how to live for all of us. And now I'd like to end this the way my mother would have ended any occasion, with a poem. My mom had a tradition of writing poems for special moments, a tradition I took over about 10 years ago. So here's my last poem to you, Mom. Nancy with the laughing face, a light, a love, a warm embrace, a heart so full, a soul so bright, you made this world feel warm and right. At just 18, you said I do, a love that grew so pure, so true. 67 years hand in hand, building a life with Jerry, a love so grand. You raised us all with patient care, a gentle voice always there. You taught us kindness, calm and true, rarely a day gone by without an I love you. You ran, you danced, you laughed, you moved. With every step, your strength you proved. Grandmother, great-grandmother too, your love was deep, your joy so true. With every hug, with every call, you made each grandchild feel 10 feet tall. And through the days, the words we hear prove just how much you are held dear. The best, a light, a soul so rare, a smile so bright, beyond compare. So now, dear Mom, we let you rest knowing you are truly blessed. Your love remains, your laughter stays, guiding us through all our days. We love you so much and for always.
Thank you all for joining us today. I'm so grateful you all joined us, both here and virtually, to celebrate my mom's wonderful life. I feel so fortunate to have had this time. So few of us can share their lives with their parents for over 65 years. My mom was sweet, kind, warm, loving, caring, and always quick with a smile and a hug. She loved everyone we brought into our home as if they were her own, from the partners we chose to our dear friends growing up. She was always eager to get to know them and made sure that everyone who knew her got special and undivided attention. She loved hearing about everyone's updates, new jobs, new loves, new babies. She loved it all. I have so many wonderful memories of my mom. For her, the family was the most important thing in her life, and she never let us forget how much we meant to her. I could regale you with stories galore. We all have such amazing stories that we've shared over the past few days. But for me, the most important lesson she taught us was to remain committed to each other. Her love of life was infectious, and her sense of humor and light filled every room. To know her was to love her. It's been so evident to everyone. The last few days have been filled with calls and texts from near and far, from so many friends who let me know how much she meant to them. She was a devoted wife and mother who felt that it was never her job, but her calling and an honor. She instilled a sense of love for her family and joy and delight in all that we did. She held us when we were sad, no matter how old we were, and celebrated every win, no matter how big or small. To know her was to love her and feel her love for us all. My mom loved everything to do with the arts. Her love of movies was infectious, and she could recite casts and movie lines from almost every movie she saw, from the 1940s to today. She loved musicals and comedies and found joy in sharing them with us all. I feel so fortunate that we shared a love of dance. She brought me to see Swan Lake when I was 7, and we continued that tradition until this past winter when we attended a performance of the Boston Ballet. She sent me to the BSO's Youth Symphony performances when I was 9 years old, on a bus with other kids, to make sure that I had an appreciation of classical music, and we loved going to the museum together when there was an exhibit that she'd really want to see and share. She loved a party and was the first one on the dance floor. You didn't get to be a shrinking violet around my mom. She'd grab your hand no matter what you were doing to make sure you could feel the joy of dancing with her. She'd do the Charleston with Auntie Pat. It's obviously a big impression on all of us. At big family celebrations, and it was always the first one in line for the hora. She loved jumping into the big group at bar and bat mitzvahs and weddings and made sure that everyone had as much fun as she did. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention her beloved Red Sox. From the time she was a young girl, it was something she shared with my Auntie Pat, her mother and father, and then, of course, my dad. When they finally broke the curse and won the World Series in 2004, she acted like they'd actually won for her. After all these years, she never gave up on them, no matter what the subsequent seasons looked like, and was still looking forward to that first pitch in April. And so, as I look out today and see all of her loved ones, family and friends, I must give a quick shout out to our family as well as her wonderful friends in Florida who are watching on YouTube and became family to us during the almost 30 years that my folks lived there. These friendships were a testament to her and my dad. They sustained them and brought them so much joy and love. Her friends from UMass are here. To have friends for over 70 years is another testimony to her love and commitment to others. They all grew up together, sharing fun times when I was younger by going back for homecoming, and later in life by renting a house together as a group in Tanglewood. She was truly blessed. As I stand on the bema, I can feel both of my parents here. This congregation in particular meant so much to them both. Community, commitment, and again, love. I look over to my right and see the images of my folks smiling at me from the folding chairs against the windows, our regular seats. My mother still attending Shabbat services until last week, and was thrilled to sit in the front to listen to Rabbi David when he was here, and now to Rabbi Jen. She would call me on Friday nights when she got home and would tell about what was important in the service or who she sat next to or saw in the congregation. She felt so lucky to be part of this community for over 50 years. Some of her dearest friends were friends she made here, and she felt forever grateful for those close and wonderful friendships. Our life in Swampscott was idyllic. While it harkens back to a simpler time, we were so lucky to live close to the people we loved. She had the privilege of growing old with her darling friend Gloria. They made sure that no matter what, the 6 of us Appel and Sachs kids had a safe place to land. How lucky we all were to grow up in the comfort of that much love. Most important to my mother was family. It was her whole life and what provided her with so much joy. Howie, Dana, and I are who we are because of the constant love and affection she showed us both as a mother and as part of a loving and committed relationship with my dad for over 67 years. For the past 34 years, her joy came from her wonderful grandchildren, Robert, Michael, Samantha, Stephen, Harrison, and Charlie. She was so warm and welcoming to dearest Ivan and Hannah. She was thrilled to celebrate their weddings and felt so blessed to have been there as they joined our family. She was so present for all of them, so delighted when they were younger for wonderful trips together and celebrations both small and large. They were her everything. And I know that she will be watching and guiding them as they continue to thrive. There really was no one like our nanny. And of course, her most immense joy for the past 20 months has been our darling Frida. She only wanted to live long enough to hear her say, "Hi, Nanny," and got her wish just a few days before she fell ill. Her phone is filled with photos and videos of our sweet little girl. She felt so blessed to be a great-grandmother. Her light will live on in our wonderful little girl. I could go on and on. The calls and emails over the past few days have let me know just how loved she was. Many of the aides that cared for my folks have reached out to me to let me know how much they all loved her and that caring for her was a privilege for them. We were lucky to have her as long as we did, and my life will be dimmer without her. Caring for her over the past few years has been an honor. We never said goodbye when I left, but just hugged each other tightly and told each other how much we loved each other. I know she is with me, as my niece and nephew know as well, that she is with us always. The songs she sang to them from the day they were born until they could sing it to her. She sang it to Frida when she was born. My sister and I played it for her while she slept on Saturday so that she knew we'd always remember. I know that Howie, Dana, and I maintain our own special and personal memories and stories of growing up, and I know this much for sure. We feel lucky to have had her as our mom and privileged to have grown up in a home filled with love, laughter, and commitment. And finally, I read this next small piece at my dad's funeral, and I want to share it with you all again today. My favorite author, Ann Patchett, wrote, "Death always thinks of us eventually. The trick is to find the joy in the interim and make good use of the days we have. I feel very certain that my wonderful mother did exactly that. Thank you.
We pray that Nancy's memory will endure among us all for blessing. And in God's own time, when we too are called to enter eternity, may we leave this life secure in our faith that in God's light we shall see light. In life and in death, we cannot go where God is not. And where God is, our hope endures. Sustained by this assurance, we invoke God's name now with the traditional chanting of Maleh Rachamim, the prayer that Nancy's soul be at eternal rest. As you are able, I invite you to please rise. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Nancy Appel, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bonds of everlasting life. For God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And we say Amen. Maleh Rachamim, shochen b'meromim, hamtzei menucha nechona, hamtzei menucha nechona, tachat kanfei hashchina. Im kedoshim utehorim, kezohar harakia, mazhirim, et nishmat necher Rachel, bat Shmuel v'tova, shalcha le'olama, Baal harachamim, yastireha b'sefer kanafav, le'olamim, v'yitzror b'yitzror achayim, et nishmata, Adonai hu nachlata, v'tanuach b'shalom, al mishkava, v'nomar Amen. Friends, our service will continue with the ritual of interment at Sharon Memorial Park. There will not be a processional down to the cemetery. Those who wish to make the drive to Sharon, we will reconvene just inside of the gates at Sharon Memorial Park. The family would invite everyone to rejoin with them here following the burial. I believe the time is specified in the booklet that you received, and that will be an opportunity to be with the family to express our condolences and, of course, our love for Nancy.